Build professional skills this semester with Adobe Creative Cloud and create standout work both in and out of the classroom. Save big on professional creativity tools. Students get 65% off Adobe Creative Cloud, including Photoshop, Illustrator, Premiere Pro, Acrobat Pro, and 20+ creative apps. No matter what project you're working on, Adobe Creative Cloud apps can help you take it to the next level. Visit adobe.com/student to learn more.
The Other Side of Midnight.
77 WABC.
Local Spotlight.
Good morrow, everyone. This is The Other Side of Midnight on 77 WABC. I'm Frank Morano. Well, if you're like me and a Met fan, you are probably a little bit disappointed in what happened a couple of hours ago. If you're like me, though, you really have to be incredibly proud of this New York Mets team. Given where this team was in May, if we would have been told that you're not only going to make it to the National League Championship Series against maybe the best team in the National League, the Dodgers, and you're going to go 6 games, we would have thought you were smoking something. And yet, that's exactly what happened. I have to tell you, I was obviously disappointed at the result of this NLCS and the result of what happened yesterday. But this was a magical team. There were so many special moments. And that Tug McGraw saying, you gotta believe, there were so many moments over the course of the last 3 months where you felt it. You didn't just say it. You didn't just believe it. You felt it. When I say you felt it, it's the tingling in the back of your neck when Francisco Lindor hits a grand slam that wins a game. It's the goosebumps you get when Pete Alonso hits that home run against the Milwaukee Brewers. There was just, it seemed like everything was breaking our way this year. The whole grimace thing, the whole OMG thing. It really would have been a nice thing to do with everybody wearing Willie Mays' number. It would have been a nice thing to do with Dwight Gooden getting his number retired and with Ed Kranepool passing away. But I've always said, this Met team reminds me most of that 1999 Met team with such great players, Robin Ventura, Sean Dunston, Ricky Henderson, and the list goes on and on. And you remember what happened the year after 1999. They made it to the World Series in the year 2000. Obviously, the result wasn't what we would have hoped, but we made it to the World Series. And I think the Mets are in a very good position. There's so much to be proud of. I think, obviously, the first item on Steve Cohen's agenda has got to be signing Pete Alonso. Additionally, there are a number of other players, especially in the pitching rotation, that are potentially goners this year. Hopefully, we can sign them all. And look, Soto had a great year with the Yankees. He's a free agent. Hopefully, we can snap him up as well. And hopefully, next year's team has just a little bit of the same magic and excitement.
Beam me up!
To be continued.
Fellas, you know Degree Cool Rush deodorant, right? Well, last year they changed the formula, and guys were mad about it. One dude even started a petition. So guess what? Degree heard us, admitted they messed up, and brought the original Cool Rush scent back exactly how it was. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So grab some and remember why its cool, crisp, and fresh scent made it the #1 men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory for all of us.
The Other Side of Midnight.
77 WABC.
Local Spotlight.
Good morrow, everyone. This is The Other Side of Midnight on 77 WABC. I'm Frank Morano. Thank you for listening. You know, living in New York City my whole life, I've realized that there are so many things here that are massive tourist attractions, but for us locals, they tend to just fade into the background. We walk past them on our way to work or to grab a coffee. But rarely do we stop to actually experience what's right in front of us. And the vessel at Hudson Yards has been one of those things for me. It opened just a few years ago in 2019, a towering honeycomb-like sculpture that became a hit with tourists almost immediately. It's 150 feet tall with zigzagging staircases and stunning views of the city. People from all over the world flocked to climb it to take in the architecture and skyline. And I, like many New Yorkers, just walked by. I'll get to it eventually, I say to myself. But something tragic happened after it opened. There was a series of suicides, which then led to the closure of the vessel in 2021, and that made me think. The tragic loss of life served as a stark reminder of how precious and short life really is. It forced me to reflect on how we as New Yorkers sometimes take things in our own backyard for granted. The sights, the experiences, the moments that tourists travel miles to enjoy. We just pass by without a second thought. I never made it inside the vessel, but with the news that it's reopening this week with new safety features, including floor-to-ceiling steel mesh barriers to prevent further tragedies, I think it's time I finally go. The owners of Hudson Yards have made significant changes to ensure it's safe for the public, and only certain levels are reopening for now. They're taking steps to protect people, and that's something to appreciate. It's bittersweet in a way, knowing that this structure, built to inspire awe, was also a site of such sadness. But maybe that's exactly why I need to go, to experience something beautiful that was nearly lost, and to remember that we can't take our city for granted. New Yorkers, we live in the greatest city in the world, and it's time we started appreciating it, not just for the skyline we see every day, but for the experiences that are just waiting for us. So I'm making a plan, a real plan, to visit the vessel. I'll take a day to climb those zigzagging staircases, to take in those views, and to remember that life, like this city, is fleeting. We have to make the most of it while we can. Perhaps I will see you there. While I'm at it, I'm going to make a list of other New York City tourist attractions that I've never been to. I suspect the list is longer than I'd care to admit.
Beam me up!
To be continued.
Get ready for Universal Epic Universe, featuring the wizarding world of Harry Potter, Ministry of Magic, and Super Nintendo World. Now open at Universal Orlando Resort. Tickets and packages on sale now at universalorlando.com.
The Other Side of Midnight.
77 WABC.
Local Spotlight.
For those of you who aren't aware, the New Jersey bear hunt is currently underway. It is a controversial tradition that has strong supporters on both sides of the debate. Just this past week, a hunter in Kinnelon made headlines for setting a state record by killing a massive 770-pound black bear. That's right, 770 pound. The hunter, Brian Melvin, had been tracking this bear for 3 years, and he described it as the smartest animal he'd ever chased. Now, I understand the need to control the bear population, especially in a densely populated state like New Jersey. There's no doubt if populations get too large, it can lead to dangerous encounters with humans and other issues. But I'll be honest with you, no matter how practical or necessary it might be to keep the numbers down, you're never going to get me to think hunting bears, or any animal for that matter, is something to celebrate. Don't get me wrong. I know people have been hunting for tens of thousands of years. I know it's part of human survival, and I also recognize that anyone who isn't a vegan is essentially doing the same thing. Most of us just rely on someone else to do the dirty work. But there's just something about the spectacle of it. The idea of someone posing with this beautiful, massive animal they've just killed, grinning next to its body. It's just something about it that I have a really tough time with. Take Brian Melvin, the guy who killed this record-setting bear. He's clearly an experienced hunter. He's been doing this for years, and he wasn't chasing records, or so he says. But seeing that picture of him next to the bear and reading his comments about how this is the smartest animal he ever chased, I mean, it just makes me sad, to be honest. And this isn't just about this particular hunter. There are plenty of people I like who hunt both in the present day and throughout history. Plenty of people I respect. But it's something I've never been able to get on board with, no matter how much they explain the thrill of the chase or the satisfaction of landing a big catch. I get that it's legal. I know it's part of wildlife management, and it's something people have been doing forever. But when I see that bear, an animal that survived in the wild for years, being taken down and turned in, I can't help but feel conflicted. I guess it comes down to just because something is necessary or even traditional, it doesn't mean that it's easy to stomach. So whether you're for or against the hunt, or somewhere in the middle like me, it's something to think about. Because for every record-setting bear, there's a story, and not all of them end the way we might like. So be careful of those bears, whether you are hunting them or just dodging them.
Beam me up!
To be continued.
Halliday presents, in the red corner, the undisputed, undefeated Weed Whacker Guy. Champion of hurling grass and pollen everywhere. And in the blue corner, the challenger, extra strength Halliday. Eye drops that work all day to prevent the release of histamines that cause itchy allergy eyes. And the winner by knockout is Halliday. Halliday, bring it on.
The Other Side of Midnight.
77 WABC.
Local Spotlight.
Today, we're going to talk about something truly remarkable in the world of justice. In a rare move, Judge Frederick Block corrected a sentence he imposed 27 years ago and freed Walter Johnson, a man who had been serving 5 life sentences. This is not just a feel-good story, but a testament to a judge who took his responsibility seriously long after the ink on the verdict had dried. You see, back in 1997, Walter Johnson, who was known on the streets as King Tut, stood before Judge Block, who I've been following for many years and I've always been very impressed with. He was convicted of robbery, drug possession, and witness tampering. The crimes were serious, no question about it. The judge sentenced Johnson to 5 life terms, describing him as someone who needed to be incapacitated to protect society. But at the age of 90, Judge Block realized that the sentence he had imposed wasn't just harsh, it was excessive. He admitted that his own understanding of justice had evolved, and he didn't just talk about it, he took action, and he freed Walter Johnson. Now let's be clear, Johnson was no angel. His rap sheet was long, including accusations of violence and crimes like robbing subway cars and even being connected to the shooting of rapper Tupac Shakur. But over the years, Johnson demonstrated real rehabilitation. His disciplinary record in prison was spotless, and he took part in programs to better help himself and help others. Johnson himself said the harsh sentence actually saved his life, forcing him to reflect and change. This kind of self-reflection isn't just limited to prisoners. Judge Block acknowledged that he, too, had evolved. Judges gain insights that with the passage of time only come with experience, he wrote, because we rarely think of judges in those terms. We often imagine them as delivering sentences and moving on to the next case. But this story reminds us that justice doesn't stop at the moment of sentencing. It's a living process. And when a judge takes a step back years later to reevaluate a decision, that's true justice. Johnson's case is particularly notable because it highlights how sentencing laws of the 1990s, like the 3 strikes law, often resulted in extremely long sentences for repeat offenders, many of whom were men of color. The Federal First Step Act, signed into law in 2018 by President Trump, gave judges more discretion to revisit old sentences, acknowledging that attitudes towards punishment and rehabilitation have changed. Judge Block used this law to reconsider Johnson's fate, showing that the system, while flawed, still has room for compassion and correction. Of course, not everyone is happy about Johnson's release. Federal prosecutors opposed it, as did several of the police unions. I think this is a great thing. Good for you, Judge Block.
Beam me up!
To be continued.